Okay, so the first commandment. We all think we know it, right? But what if I told you its original meaning had less to do with piety and a whole lot more to do with being one of the most radical, disruptive business proposals in all of human history? Yeah, that's the wild idea we're going to break down right now.
All right, to really get this, let's start with an analogy. Picture this. You're building your dream house. I mean, this is a massive project. So you do what any smart person would do, right? You hire a whole team of experts.
You've got your guy for the foundation. You've got a plumber for all the pipes, an electrician for the wiring, a roofer. You get the picture. Each one is a total specialist, an expert in their own little corner of the world. And you trust them, right? You trust them to do their one job and do it really, really well.
But then, one morning, this single contractor shows up on your property, and he walks right up to you and says he can handle the entire project himself. And get this, he doesn't just say he can do it, he says he can do it better, faster, and even cheaper than your whole team put together. I mean, that sounds incredible, right? Almost too good to be true. And, well, then comes the catch. He looks you in the eye and says, look, if you want me to do this, you have to fire everyone else. Every single specialist. From now on, you work only with me. For everything. So, what do? I mean, that's a massive risk. It requires this insane amount of trust. Are you really going to fire your entire proven team for this one guy's unbelievable promise? Would you take that deal? Seriously, think about it.
Okay, keep that question locked in your head, because that really risky all-or-nothing deal, that's exactly what the first commandment was proposing to the ancient Israelites. You see, they lived in a world that looked a whole lot like that construction site we just imagined, a world jam-packed with specialist gods.
Back in the ancient world, you basically had a divine team on call. If you wanted a good harvest, guess what? You prayed to the harvest god. Headed off to war? Yep, there was a god for that. Childbirth, storms, justice. Literally every single piece of your life had its own dedicated deity, its own divine specialist.
And that, my friends, is polytheism. But here's what's so interesting. For ancient folks, this wasn't just some abstract belief system. It was, for all intents and purposes, practical risk management. It just made sense. You wouldn't ask your electrician to come fix your leaky pipes, right? So why in the world would you ask the war god for a good harvest? You diversified your divine portfolio.
So you've got this bustling marketplace of gods, and right into the middle of it lands this proposal. An idea so radical, it was honestly scandalous. The ultimate exclusive contract.
And here it is, the proposal. You shall have no other gods before me. Wow. I mean, after everything we've just talked about, you can really feel the weight of that, can't you? That's not some friendly suggestion. It's a total, complete disruption of the entire way the world worked.
This was the God version of that contractor showing up and telling you to fire your whole crew. It was literally asking people to abandon their entire team of trusted, specialized gods and to put all their faith for every single one of their needs in just one.
Okay, now this is a really crucial distinction we need to make. This first step, it wasn't exactly monotheism yet. Monotheism is the belief there's only one God, period. This was actually something called henotheism. Basically, it's the idea that, yeah, okay, other gods might exist out there, but our God is the greatest. He's the supreme one, and he's the only one we're going to worship. This exclusive contract was that first absolutely revolutionary step. The idea that no other gods even existed at all, that came way, way later.
So that just begs the question, right? Why on earth would anyone accept this incredibly risky spiritual deal? What was the sales pitch? What was the value proposition that could possibly convince you to fire your entire divine team?
Well, the God of the Israelites, Yahweh, showed up with a completely unique resume. I mean, check this out. First, unlike literally every other god in the ancient world who had some kind of birth story, Yahweh had no origin. He was just eternal. Second, his power wasn't stuck in one lane, like storms or harvests. Nope, he was the creator of everything. And third, unlike the other gods who are often petty and flawed and frankly immoral, this God was presented as the ultimate source of morality itself.
So the pitch was basically this. Look, I'm not just another contractor. I'm the architect, I'm the engineer, I'm the plumber, and the electrician all rolled into one. He was the ultimate generalist who was also, somehow, the ultimate specialist for every single part of your life.
Okay, so that's the original proposal. But let's be honest. This idea of choosing one single ultimate specialist over all the others, that's not just ancient history, is it? The challenge of that commandment actually forces us to ask a very modern, very personal question. What are the other gods that we rely on today?
And centuries later, the reformer Martin Luther, he just reframed this so brilliantly. He said, a god isn't some statue. It's much simpler. It's whatever your heart clings to and relies on. And when you use that definition, suddenly the whole modern landscape of gods comes into really sharp focus.
Let's just start with the obvious one, shall we? The almighty dollar. We even give it a divine name. For so many of us, money is the ultimate specialist. It's what we rely on for security, for status. It's the main tool we reach for to solve pretty much any problem that comes our way.
For other people, that ultimate reliance is placed on a political system or an ideology. It's that deep, gut-level belief that, man, if we could just get the right people in charge, or if we could just implement the perfect system, then all of society's big problems would just melt away.
And oh man, in our modern age, this one is huge. An absolute faith in science and technology. It's this core conviction that, just give it enough time and human innovation will fix everything. I'm talking curing all diseases, ending aging, maybe even solving ancient problems like injustice. We really do treat it like our ultimate savior.
And then there's the really personal level. A god can be another person. This is what happens when we hang our entire sense of worth, our whole identity, all our security on one relationship. We start expecting a single human being to meet needs that, let's be real, no person could ever possibly meet.
And all of this, it just brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? That original, radical business proposal, it wasn't just for the ancient Israelites. It's a question that gets posed to every single one of us. So when you look at your own life, where do you place your ultimate trust? What's the one thing you really rely on to do it all for you? Who or what is your jack of all trades?